Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Welcome to those of you who are new. Also, the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel. Again, welcome to those of you who are new. We continue our foray into that run of things here and ultimately kind of get things going in a semi-positive direction, at least we hope so. Anyway, this is the Raw review for the 30th of um, the 30th of May 2022. And I mean, ultimately, Raw after 30 years, they're all pretty much the same. There's nothing you have to see, especially at summertime Raw. Next time you might care is in August, but we'll run through it anyway. In any event, kind of a interesting run there. And we open with Becky Lynch entering. She starts the show. She's in a good mood, despite the fact the fans are not behind her. She says some collect stamps, some collect friends, but she collected enemies. She knows the trick to do that is when she regains the title of Hell in a Cell. The odds are against her, but that's always true, and she's always overcome it. Lynch recalls Asuka winning Money in the Bank 2020. I wonder how many fans do. And taking her title or handing her the title next night on Raw. Even back then, Lynch had a plan. She knew she could beat Asuka and thought Asuka would hold the title until she returned. Asuka interrupted. Asuka said Lynch was still a big-time baby. Lynch then tries to interrupt, but Asuka slapped her down in Japanese and said that no one's ready for Asuka and she'd become the new champion. Bianca Belair enters. Belair didn't want to complain about having to defend the title again in a triple threat match, but she does her talking in the ring. Payback is ready for Asuka tonight, and Asuka kicked her in the face last week. She also is basically ready to drop Lynch. Lynch takes a cheap shot at Balor, who then leads to a short brawl who ended Asuka and Belair, knocking Lynch out of the ring. Lynch then joins the commentators for the match. She drops the I'm a wizard line at one point, and she followed that by calling herself a magician because she made the women's title disappear at SummerSlam. Non-title match, women's champion Bianca Belair defeats Asuka 13:06. This is a good match. Good back and forth ahead of knocking each other out of the ring before the commercial break. Asuka hits a German suplex and a hip attack following a break for a 2 count. Belair gets Asuka up for the KOD, but Asuka slips out. Asuka sells her leg for a bit, and Lynch makes fun of it and calls her a baby. Belair goes after Asuka, but gets caught with a knee for the near fall. Belair counters Asuka lock into a gland slam. Pretty cool combination there. Asuka tries cradle, but Belair counters into a cradle of her own for the pinfall win. Lynch hits the ring and lays out both women after the match. Finish doesn't come out well. The Usos and Riddle and Shinsuke Nakamura are going to start the third hour, and we're already counting down to it. 6-man tag team match. Ezekiel, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Dominic Mysterio defeat Kevin Owens, Chad Gable, and Otis. 6:23 babyfaces clear the ring early and takes 3 drop kicks from 3 different people to knock Otis down. So Otis is huge, even though he's pushed like he doesn't matter. Anyway, Gable shoves Dominic off the middle rope to the outside before driving him into the barricade. Heels work over Dominic. Through the break, Ezekiel makes the hot tag, hands out stinger splashes to Gable and Owens before giving Gable a spinning powerbomb. Otis breaks up the cover. Dominic tries hitting a high cross. Otis then catches Dominic. Ray takes him down with a senton. Otis then avoids 619 and tries super kick. Ray ducks, and Gable gets super kicked instead. Mysterio gives Gable the double 619 before Ezekiel hits his finisher, and it certainly is an odd-looking finisher. But there's a suplex brainbuster for the pinfall win. The announcers pointed out Owens inevitably helped Ezekiel win the match, and Owens is unhappy. But anyway, Cody Rhodes starts the promo with the second hour. Rhodes receives a decent reaction. He says he's always been a fan of Seth Rollins, and he always saw potential in him. There's another man who saw potential in Rollins. That man raised him, and obviously that's Dusty Rhodes. Dusty told Cody that Rollins had everything it took to be the greatest generational talent if he lived up to the hype. Rollins learned that he would be getting his second chance at WrestleMania, and it would be against. Rhodes realized he'd be getting that second chance against Rollins at Mania. He admits he's nervous he's going to return with a loss, but he's at the top of his games. Rhodes calls Rollins out despite being an egomaniac, but he's also dangerous. Hell in a Cell would be the biggest challenge of his career, and he wanted Rollins to know that. Any respect or self-control he had would be locked outside in the cell. Rollins then would be locked with someone who wanted to hurt him. Rollins then interrupts. He cuts promo within the crowd. Rollins then said he didn't like Rhodes. He tried to accept a new version of Rhodes, but he couldn't take the pandering. Cody chants he would hear them in his sleep. Rollins said Rhodes left the WWE because he wasn't good enough. Then he and his little friends tried to tear down what he had built. That didn't work out, and now he's back. He's trying to be the hero. You don't take a sledgehammer to a throne and then try to take the throne from me. Rollins said he'd end Rhodes at Hell in a Cell, and we could finally wake up from this American nightmare. And Rollins laughs. Rhodes dares Rollins to come to the ring so they could fight now. Rollins acted like he would, but actually Rhodes is the one that wants him. They brawl into the crowd until Rhodes tackles Rollins through the barricade. Rhodes continues to attack until officials run down, breaking it up, and there's a let them fight chant. Rhodes goes to the back. Rollins thought it's over. Rhodes sprinted back down and attacked till officials finally break things up. Crowd chanted like robots, "This is awesome." Not really. Anyway, Alexa Bliss defeated Doudrop with Nikki Ash, 3:18. Bliss avoids a splash and sends Nikki off the apron. Gets Twisted Bliss, pinfall win. Then they showed a clip of Lacey Evans sightseeing NASCAR race over the weekend. Miz with the Street Profits on his show. Miz plugs Miz and Mrs., but is interrupted by the Street Profits. Dawkins basically takes over and says Miz is talking about his show when he should be talking about Hell in a Cell. Dawkins says he's looking forward to Rose versus Rollins. Reminded the Miz that he lost to Rose. Ford's looking forward to Belair retaining her championship. They realized they were being rude to the host, so they asked Miz what he thought of Hell in a Cell. He was about to answer, but he said it doesn't matter what he thinks, and he's still falling for the line after all these years. Miz put his hands up to make them stop talking, but Dawkins gives him a high five instead. Miz then explained the gesture, but they continued to make fun of him. Man, this is just, I don't know. It's goofy. Dana Brooke suddenly runs down through the crowd and into the ring. T-Bar randomly shows up to drop a Kira Tozawa. Ford sends out a seat super kick. T-Bar out of the ring and calmly sits down. Dawkins does the same, and he decks Apollo Crews. Anyways, bunch of stuff with the 24/7 junk happens. Does anybody cares about this? Not really. Anyway, so Theory joins commentary. Ciampa doesn't get an entrance. Mustafa Ali defeated Ciampa via disqualification, 328. The good news is he's getting a main roster contract. The bad news is they're wasting Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa's in control till Ali fights back and hits a dive to the outside. Ali goes to the top. Theory yanks him down, gets him DQ'd. Theory also sends him into the steps. Theory informed us that Ali's championship shot is happening right now. Theory's putting boots to Ali after the break. This match goes 1 minute 45 seconds, and they were basically he was being beat up during the break. Ali said if he wanted to start the match, and he said yes. There's a chant for CM Punk that can be audibly heard. Anyway, Theory is in control until Ali nailed a kick and tornado DDT. Theory knocked him off the top rope. ATL for the pinfall win. Adam Pearce enters the match. He informs Theory that Mr. McMahon wanted to see a fair fight, so he booked a rematch at Hell in a Cell. Riddle cut backstage promo. He thanks everyone for their kind words about Randy Orton. He warned the Usos that he didn't come to Raw alone. Nakamura said he had Riddle in a common purpose to bleed the bloodline dry. Non-title match, Riddle and Shinsuke Nakamura defeated the Usos 12-24. I guess there are people that care about this. The Usos worked over Riddle until Nakamura makes the tag, getting a near fall for a flying knee strike. Jey Uso distracted him, which allowed Jimmy to hit the super kick. Jey follows up with a splash, but Riddle breaks up the cover. Riddle then makes a hot tag after the break and hits Jey with a suplex and a senton. Nakamura makes a blind tag. Riddle falls out of the ring and crushes Jey with a Kinshasa and sets him up for the dive. Jimmy breaks up the cover. And, I mean, the wrestling here is good, but you've got to admit that the Usos are played out after, 10, 15 years? And also, 13 years, I think they said on SmackDown. And also, Riddle should be in main events doing something that has long-term value, not pining after Randy Orton like this is a bromance movie. Anyway, Riddle hits a few Orton power slams before Jimmy hits Riddle with a scooter for a blatant DQ. After the match, Usos going to splash Riddle. Nakamura kicks Jimmy off turnbuckle. Riddle brings down Jey with an avalanche JKO or RKO. Anyway, Titus O'Neil is at the 500. Kevin Patrick approaches Ali in the back, and Ali said he's hurting, so he knew the odds were against him, but he planned on walking out of his hometown Chicago U.S. champion. Theory attacked him from behind and laid him out. Announcers then go down the card for Hell in a Cell. Morgan enters at 10:15. Her match begins 20 minutes later. Liv Morgan defeats Rhea Ripley 10:14. Ripley has new music. Styles and Priest come to ringside during the commercial break. Morgan fires up at one point and hits a flying crossbody to the outside. She goes for the Oblivion, but Priest held Ripley against the ropes and by her pants, and then so Styles goes after that again. Riptide goes into a cradle for a pinfall win. After the match, Priest attacks Styles and turns his attention to Morgan. Finn Balor runs down, tackles Priest. Styles gives a phenomenal forearm to Balor, following up with a coup de grace, and Morgan wipes out Ripley with a massive dropkick. And the babyfaces stand tall. Then we go to the contract signing to close the show. Anyway, so contract signing, Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Almost. Basically, MVP and Lashley exchanged words before everyone signed the contract. MVP didn't want to wait for Sunday. Lashley's fine with that. Lashley throws the table aside. They clear the ring with security guards. Almost and Lashley were about to go at it before Cedric Alexander chop blocked Lashley. Almost sets up the table in the corner of the ring. Lashley spears him through it, and we close the show. Since when is an undercard match the reason that everyone should be excited? I don't get it. Anyway, we'll be back with more after this.